Snute today is looked upon by many as one of the best European players to have ever played StarCraft. He is well known for his dedication, hard work, and simply put, passion for the game. He has a rich history in the Intel Extreme Masters, starting back in 2012, where he traveled to Sao Paulo, Brazil to compete for the very first time.
I came here as a replacement because I almost qualified, but I lost 0-2 against Mousepigs in the qualifiers. But I was lucky to be able to come here as a replacement.
At his first couple of tournaments, he struggled as he lost multiple times in the early stages, though he never gave up. It was not until the summer of 2014 where in China we saw Snute's persistence finally pay off. This tournament was the start of multiple strong finishes for the Norwegian as he consistently reached the later stages. Fast forward to 2016, Snute reached his first grand finals as he played inside the Spodek Arena, a stage that few players have ever graced.
The liquid player from Norway looking to take game number 1 here in the grand finals.
Perfect build by Snute. Awesome goal on the roaches.
GG.
Will Intel Extreme Masters Shanghai be the tournament that Snute finally claims as his own?
From Tournament Challenger to the grandest stage of them all, Snute has gone from leaps and bounds forward with the Intel Extreme Masters, has literally grown up with the tournament and has moved so far forward. He'll now take to the battlefield for his 12th Intel Extreme Masters here on his way to the stage, going up against uThermal in just a moment. I'm joined once again on the desk by Todd, Pig, and Rotterdam now here to get into this next round of 16 match, and it's going to be a blinder. Snute has always performed well.
Snute is somebody that's always here whenever he makes it to an Intel Extreme Masters. He's not the guy that you expect to go out in the round of 16. But this is absolutely not an easy draw. uThermal, without a shadow of a doubt, one of the absolute best Terrans in the European scene. I think it's going to be a great series, but with the way that Snute has been playing ZvT lately, I mean, I'd be a fool to say he's not the favorite to take it.
He has a good winning record against uThermal, and right now, on the streets of StarCraft, everybody's talking about how the European Zergs against Terran are just so scary and really, really hard to stop. uThermal, though, takes part in a lot of online tournaments, and sometimes, like for example, even back in Leipzig, he surprised everybody, made it to the semifinals, beat a couple Protosses, even though according to him, that was never going to happen. And he always has, these builds that he can pull out of a hat somehow and make work, and he has a very unconventional style, which can be hard to deal with. Liberators was one of the first guys to use them the most, so it's going to be a tricky matchup in a way, maybe for Snute.
Well, these two making their way to the stage now, and let's once we have uThermal on the camera, we're actually going to switch focus in just a moment over to Snute. Of course, throughout the year here in 2016 for WCS, Snute has had second place during WCS Winter, second place during the tournament that actually you cast it here in China as well, Rotterdam, and then third and fourth, third and fourth, third and fourth. What does he have to do to kind of break that barrier and get himself a title under his belt here in 2016?
Most likely avoid the Protosses, because I feel that's where it often went wrong for him. And that's going to be hard, because we've got a couple of very good Protosses on the other side of the bracket. So in a bizarre world, this could be another top 2 finish, but let's not get too ahead of ourselves. I really think even if you are a Snute and you've got a phenomenal track record in 2016, you take it one round at a time. You can't look past this guy, man. And I'm not saying that because he's Dutch just like me. uThermal is a very scary opponent who plays different than most Terrans and who is hyper aggressive, and absolutely, I would not be surprised to see a couple of 3-Rex Reaper and stuff like that.
Well, likewise, I mean, Pig, on the other side with uThermal, of course, he did have that good result, as Todd mentions, in Leipzig, that kind of semi-final position, but since then hasn't really hit a stride to get him to the very tip top of a tournament. Likewise, what can uThermal do here, or is Snute just that much of a roadblock?
Snute's going to be a tough opponent for uThermal, but he's got to build that confidence. He's got to kind of find that, and that's something, if you talk to him, you can see he's in a better place mentally.
Right.
He's more confident with his gameplay than he was a month or two ago. So he's definitely feeling more confident in his own play. He's not coming into this, dismissing Snute as an easy opponent. He knows it's going to be a tough one. but he's much more confident mentally, and that's very important.
You know, when it comes to sometimes you say the stars align, one thing that's very nice for uThermal is that he's not just here for the Index 3 Masters. He'll be participating in another event next week, which can be a little bit of a stress reliever, so to speak, because, you know, it's not just here, you're 1 for best of 5, and if you lose, well, then it's all over, you have to go home. He knows that he will have a second chance, and also just last week, uThermal had a flawless performance in the WCS Summer Qualifiers, where he 3-0'd Minato from Ukraine as Zerg, and also 3-0'd Namchar from Sweden. So 6-0 against a couple of good Zergs to qualify for a big tournament.
But then you beat him on your stream, though. So.
Obviously. I mean, Todd, when you
way to crush his confidence.
Like, you can take me out on neutral territory, but when you're on the Roddy stream, then it's on.
The Roddy builds are out. All right, boys. Well, thank you very much. We're going to have to wrap it up there because we are about to get into this best of 5 in the round of 16. See who moves on to the round of 8. It's going to be Snute versus uThermal. I'm sending you over to Nathanius and Funka for the commentary.
Thank you very much, Kalaris and the boys. We are ready to kick off this Terran versus Zerg. I'm Nathanius. With me is Funka. Let's get into it. We're going to kick this series off on Apotheosis. Spawning in the bottom right position as the red Zerg player, we have Team Liquid Snute.
All right, and in the top left, representing Terran, for AT Gaming, it is uThermal.
They knew to bring the two Terrans here in because if there's one thing that Terrans know a lot about, Funka, it's cheddar.
Yes.
Some finely aged Chinese cheddar.
Oh yeah, and you can see right here, uThermal is going to start the series with the bang.
He's going to bring the noise.
Oh yeah.
And the guys on the desk were talking about it. The European Zergs are ridiculously good against Terran. If I'm a Terran player and I have to play against, well, obviously I'm not as good as these guys, but any Terran player in Europe, you're like, oh yeah, just play a match against Snute. You know, that's really important. Best of 5 single limb bracket. Well, you better just be practicing your sickest cheeses all day long, especially on this giant map that makes it very difficult to push as Terran against Zerg. So this doesn't surprise me in the slightest. This map is great for Reaper cheese. You got all them cliffs to work with and a lot of space you can bully a Zerg player.
Exactly, and that's really interesting to see that on the first game, Apotheosis, on the first map, because uThermal is really known for that. It's not like he never does that kind of three racks Reaper like this, and this way is not going to get scouted. All the 3 racks are about to finish, already 2 Reapers on the way. And the bunker is getting built, but I think it's been seen by this Overlord, which means Snute is going to now build a Roach one.
Yep, beginning to react to what he's seeing as the first Reaper does make its way inside of the main base. Drone is trying to run away with that cake and buying as much time for himself as possible. We have the bunker getting very close to completing, and that's going to section off the main and natural. But the most important thing to consider is that as long as Snute can get up to some Ravagers, those are extremely good at pushing things like this bunker back. The Roaches can obviously tank a lot of damage, so it's more about just buying time. But, you know, Reapers, they snowball. The more you have of them, the more grenades you can spam, the better they become.
Exactly, and so he has to speed things up, and that's what he's doing right now with killing some Zerglings. Now the Queen is out, so it's going to fend off a little bit those Reapers, maybe use a grenade. Again, now that's a really great connection to those drones, and maybe he can kill this Queen if the target fire is on point. But once again, 2 more Zerglings getting a little bit on the way. All right, can he get some more? He needs to do more right now. This is not enough.
I mean, this is, you know, for all intents and purposes, completely all in on the side of uThermal. He's not producing workers behind this. Now, the first Roach does come out. We can see, you know, even with the grenades, that damage goes through the Roach's armor, and the damage will stack if you throw 5 grenades underneath a Roach. You need to be very careful as Snute. If you just try to run all your Roaches straight into those Reapers and 6 grenades lob under them, that's half the health on those bad boys that are gone. And this Ravager more... Good cancel. That Ravager is so crucial to being able to push back those Reapers.
Yeah, this is really good that he got that. But he's gonna lose the bunker. Once again, good grenades on the Roaches. The Queen from the natural trying to get into the main. Maybe can get that Roach so low. Yeah, he's gonna go and turn back, get this one out. Maybe he can get some economy, but all those Reapers are solo, and he needs to snowball, as you said. He doesn't need to lose them.
It's a very delicate dance because the weakened Roaches, I mean, you want to dive in and kill them, and you know that if you don't, there's the possibility of not only the transfuse, but they could just turn into a Ravager and get all their health back. So we see the Reapers continuing to poke. There's no drones on the natural, so uThermal's just trying to make the most of this that he possibly can with his Reaper micro, as he's now finally getting an orbital command back home.
Yeah, he's getting an orbital, but I don't think that it's going to mean that he wants to transition out of this, because as you mentioned, it's a pretty big all-in that he's going for. But now he gets 2-3 roaches, maybe the fourth one. No, he's going to go away. And a transfuse me there. That was really great by Snute, saving that roach in the nick of time. Can he get some more work done here? uThermal on the first game with the all-in. He's getting one more roach. That's looking good.
He is really putting some overtime in here. It's important to keep in mind, though, that at some point or another, even if this dance continues forever, that main base will eventually mine out. So you don't really have a follow-up tech to this if the Zerg is able to stabilize.
Yep. But he did lose a lot of Reapers on that last sequence. I think 3 Reapers went down on this one.
And Snute has been able to squeeze out a few drones here and there. We have another one on the production tab right now. Every single drone is so important. He's at 23 versus 13. uThermal has a mule that he can drop back home, but that alone is not going to turn the tides here. You can still only build 3 Reapers at once, whereas as Snute gets more money, then his larva becomes that much more easy to spend.
And once again, trying to get a Ravager out of a roach that was so low, but those mines should cancel it. And once again, dealing some great damage right there. All those roaches are in the red. This is a battle of micro between these 2 players. And right now, I would say uThermal maybe is able to finish the game, but it's not over yet. Once again, nice connection with the mines. And getting 3 more roaches. That queen is so low. I think uThermal is starting to do it.
He's really starting to snowball this, and it's also really good because he's been pressuring the natural expansion. We see that hatchery is almost at half health. He's really forcing those roaches to keep coming out and keep recommitting to the engagement. He says, if you want to sit back there, I'm going to kill your base. And if I can set this game back to 1 base versus 1 base, then it's a ball game, even if I can't completely kill you.
Yep. Once again, transition. He had some energy left on that queen, but still, those roaches are there falling down. Once again, a Reaper just went down on this one. Maybe he can go and, multiply the number of mines that he's using. This queen, the micro from Snute is pretty decent, but this time, losing 2 roaches and a queen. Can uThermal finish the game right now? He's still sticking in, and the micro is pretty decent from the Terran right now.
What he's doing is so cool, because instead of throwing all the grenades at once, he just keeps lobbing one, and while the units are in the air being pushed, they can't fight, so the Reapers just get free shots off, and then he just throws another one, and another one, and another one, and he's racking up all of this damage on these units that are flying through the air, and he's pretty much cleaned it all up. He's killed the queens, he's killed the roaches, the natural expansion's about to die, he's gonna kill another roach, and all the drones are also, free farm at this point.
Yeah, easy peasy. Those drones, they don't have anything to do with those Reapers. They can't do anything, so now uThermal goes to the main and maybe can get that freshly made queen. I think he's done it. GG!
Ooh, some nice cheddar out of the first game here from uThermal. I think this is a super appropriate build to start a series against a player like Snute. Snute, like many other Europeans, they're talking guys like Nurtio and them, they are just known for being such big threats in this matchup. Apotheosis is such a long map. If you try to do any sort of early aggression in 1 or 2 bases, it's usually very difficult. So the proxy makes a lot of sense because of that. And it also helps set a tone, because Snute is one of those players where if you can get him a little bit on tilt, then you can really get yourself a good momentum in this series, because he's not, Snute is one of those players that can get inside their own head a little bit at a time as well.
Yeah, exactly. And uThermal just shared with me a little bit before the cast that he studied Snute quite a bit. And obviously, when you go into Apotheosis and you are uThermal, you are kind of keen on doing those kind of 3 Reaper, the 3 barracks proxies, but the way he put them and the fact that the Overlord didn't scout it means that he actually studied the Overlord patterns. So really great play by uThermal, but I'm pretty sure that's not the only 3 Rex Reaper that we're going to see this series.
Yeah, I think if this goes a little bit longer, another cheese for sure. As far as the maps go, that's why one of the things I've thought was so interesting this season is the inclusion of map like Dasan Station. Because I think if you're uThermal, you actually want to play a map like that. Even though most pros, I feel like obviously it's a bit of a crazy map where weird stuff happens. But if you're the kind of guy that can bust cheese and micro very well, I think maps like that you can use to force these crazy scenarios are super important. The next map is going to be Frost, which, if it gets cross spawns, can actually end up being pretty difficult for uThermal in the long game, and we're going to keep bringing this up. I'm going to keep bringing it up. You do not want to play late game against Snute.
No, you don't.
Absolutely do not. If you thought that playing your ladder games and getting wrecked by Ultras was tough, Snute, just look up Snute versus Marine Lord at the last Home Straight Cup. It was disgusting what happened when Marine Lord did not kill Snute very quickly.
And even recently, like Snute played against Beyond, and he went all the way to the 5th game, and it was so close. And the only way Beyond was able to win in the mid game was going all out on the multitasking and everything like this. So
I remember that sick game.
It was
Frozen
great.
Temple.
Oh my
yeah,
God.
that
That
was
5th game,
ridiculous.
that was ridiculous. So if we can get to the 5th game against a guy like Beyond, and I've got a lot of respect for uThermal, but Beyond seems a little bit, a little bit better in this situation. It's gonna be hard if they play a proper game.
Now we'll have to see if this man can bring it back. Will he be able to offset the momentum of that early cheese in the bottom left? He's the red Zerg from Team Liquid. He's Snute.
Doesn't look too annoyed yet, but we have to see throughout the game in the top right his opponent. So it's a cross positions. If you guys followed, it's a Terran player for AT Gaming, uThermal. So cross positions. What do you feel about that?
Well,
tough luck.
Yeah, I think we could both agree. What makes this map more favorable, generally, I think in any matchup, Zerg likes being cross-spawn. If you try to make a push through the middle of the map, where you're going to be expanding as a Terran player is either, for your third, going to be just below your natural, which has that big banana hallway in the right side of the map that you can do run-bys on.
Yeah.
And then it's pretty much the same thing if you take the top left base. So there's all these different points of counterattack and counter-harass. And if you want to drop the Zerg, you have to go through the middle of the map as well, which means that you're going to be able to see it with watchtowers if you have lings there. Most Zergs will. So you have to go super far around to avoid those towers.
Yeah.
And then it's a little bit easier for the Overlord spread to be able to catch them. So it's just much more difficult to get across the map without being counterattacked or spotted as a Protoss or a Terran against a Zerg. So the biggest focus for Snute really should be just grinding this one out, taking it as far as he can, spreading the creep very well, and not dying to what I would assume would be something like a 2-base push or some very heavy harass, which we already kind of have shaping up. I mean, look at the second barracks. It's so fast for uThermal.
Yeah, it's probably going to be that build that it's all the rage right now. The double racks. You get this team really early, you get a factory, and you get a double drop, and it actually allows you to set the pace of the game, which is obviously something that uThermal wants to do all throughout the series. So if he can get those 2 drops to deal a little bit of damage, maybe get a queen or something, then maybe he can, once again snowball. And I think that's going to be the word of the series. He needs to snowball, and he needs to do it really, really fast.
Yeah. It's a cool juxtaposition of these two players. That uThermal is a guy who is known for his aggressive strategies. He is a micro-oriented player. He is not the guy that is going to be like, oh yeah, I don't mind just going all the way up to Liberator Ghost and grinding out a 40-minute game on this map where you can hit me from 8 different directions. Like, no. uThermal's going to put a lot into this, and as you said, this has become a super popular build. This is almost one of the staple standard builds in Korea, where you just go for that really fast 16 Marine or like 14 Marine with 1 Widow Mine drop, and you just try to knock the Zerg down when they're taking that third base and trying to get it saturated. So as you see, the stem's already on the way, the factory's done, we're going to have the starport and the reactor, and there's no sign of a third base with this, so it is a very committed aggression. If you do not get serious damage done to a Zerg player that's taking a third base, I mean, you're almost dead.
And I like what Snute is doing. He's the kind of player, so we didn't see it in the first game because, he was getting cheesed pretty evilly, but he's a guy that will always go for overload speed, and we can see it right now. It's getting over the pubertized carapace, and he's going to scout everything. So now the question is, how does he really react to this? Sometimes you see players that go for Link Bane and maybe do a counterattack like at 5 minutes precisely when the drop is leaving the base. But right now, even that little Zergling pressure can get some work done. Only 3 Marines. Snute is going to play really conservatively and go back, but he did scout everything that he needed to know. And I'm pretty sure he's not surprised at all.
Yeah, it's one of those scenarios where the Lings poking at the front keep the Marines from being able to get that Overlord. Since you don't have Hellions, you actually sacrifice all map control at the start of the game that you would normally be able to get as a Terran before there's a lot of Zerglings on the field. So we'll have to see. He's continuing to pump out Queens. I think this is something that has been stressed a lot in the European Zerg style, especially against Terran, especially since the buff to the Queen range. And, a lot of people talk about it. It's +1 range, but if you look at the circle of area that the Queen can hit, it's increased. I think it's a ridiculously large area that it just helps to zone away where those units come from. So the medevacs are going to have a bit of a tricky time just because there are so many Queens being built. He's at 6 already. He has 2 more in production. and he's building a drop overlord
Yeah.
outside of uThermal's main base. He's just going to try to backstab him while this is happening, and I love this play.
It is amazing. Like, he doesn't go for the Baning Buzz that we can see sometimes in the Korean scene. He's going to go for an overload drop, which actually is a really great idea considering he went for the overload speed earlier. So that backstab right now, he probably has only 2 Marines, 3 Marines. It's going to be really hard to figure out how to do this. But this drop is actually reaching a really nice position. Even this spore is going to be used as a natural wall. And right now he has to evacuate every single drone from the second base. This is already a pretty decent play, but he needs to not lose that medevac.
And medevac took a lot of damage flying over towards the third base. Able to get away though, losing only a handful of those Marines, but still have to keep in mind that the third base is not set up for uThermal. He is just now starting that command center. So, I mean, if Snute realizes that uThermal's kind of dialing back a little bit at any point, he just slams the gas pedal on those drones, and that economy skyrockets up. Look, he's also getting the +1 missile attack, so we're all possibly just going to see that Roach Ravager Infestor style that's also super popular.
Yeah, going for the Roach Warren after the upgrade, which is always funny to see. He'll be able to drop those Marines and maybe get
good
pick take out that drop overload, because if you're not building a Viking and you don't have that kind of opportunity to kill it, it's gonna come over and over again, which is so annoying to deal with. But as you said, range upgrade, lots of queens, lots of creep, and it's gonna be so hard to deal with on this map in cross positions.
That +1 helps with the queens as well for dealing with those drops and all of that range. And we also get to see the compounding effect of having 11 queens on the map by 6.5 minutes. Look at all this creep tumor. He's defiling this map, taking over in true swarm fashion.
It's disgusting.
That's right. There's a 12th queen on the way. Don't worry, guys. The queen train doesn't stop when Liquid Snute is in the game.
Never. So what can he really achieve with that double tank evac drop and a handful of Marines? Maybe get out some of this creep, but it's not like he doesn't have the energy to replenish it. Nice transfuse on this one. So many transfuse available, and he has to lose a little bit of units. He's actually going to lose it all.
Focuses the medevacs, gets the surround on the Marines, and cleans up everything. And many a Terran player in the chat said, "Queens, baby rage."
Baby rage.
That is the style, and it works so well for Zerg players dealing with that early Terran aggression. Didn't need Baneling Nest, didn't need Roaches, didn't need Ravagers or Mutas. He held off a Marine tank medevac push with 11 queens and about 20-some Zerglings.
Yeah, I was about to say he's going to have to lose all his Marines because he wants to save the tanks. And then suddenly you look at the health of the medevacs and you're like, actually he's going to lose
11
everything.
Queens, it's like 11 times 9. It's like 2 shots to almost kill these things.
Yeah. Double drop going on to the 4th base. Now he's not even going to go there. Oh, actually he is. He's going to maybe try to to trade a little bit against those Zerglings, but already 2 queens in position in the main. The defense from Snute, impeccable in this game. Now, can he get the medevac? He's actually going to get it.
This has been super solid out of him. And you see that +1 just helps finishing off units that are trying to retreat as well. So Snute has a lot of momentum going in. And I think if you're uThermal right now, you're realizing that there's no escaping the late game now.
No.
You have no more opportunities to kill Snute before you're maxed out. You can try to throw these medevacs around. You can try to get these walls to stop the counterattacks. But for all intents and purposes, until he's got fully upgraded, maxed out army, uThermal really doesn't have much of an opportunity to kill Snute anytime soon, especially with this creep spreading out. Snute's going to have so much information to keep everything away. He catches this drop at the south tower, and we just talk about this. That's what makes this cross spawn tough, because he's gonna have the towers. His creep spread on the edges of the map, like in the top left side of the map. You can see that Snute is still spreading in a direction that's going to allow him to catch those medevac drops as well.
Yeah, it's amazing. If we can take just a look at the Snute's vision, it's already just disgusting. He sees everything. Not a single drop can come unannounced, like a double, triple drop to the main. Never gonna happen in this game. Snute way too good for this. Lots of creep tumors. He's gonna try to do it from the left side, but he's gonna be seen in like a couple of seconds because of
he already got spotted at the watchtower. The Ling saw these drops. He sees the drop at the bottom side. A couple of Marines are going to unload, scan, kill creep tumors, but he's dropping like on the creep. So obviously Snute is aware of that position. He's going to readjust his army to get ready to knock this down. And there the queens are, just pushing them back. Already taking a big chunk of health out of that medevac. These Marines are going to get caught and pushed away. let's just take stock. The queen count right now is at 14. We have number 15 on the way.
Of course, never stop building queens. It reminds me of infestors, you know, back in the days.
The old days.
There is no way there's a better unit to make than an infestor. And actually, speaking of infestors, he built 3 of them without the Pathogenic Glance because he doesn't want to rush anything out. He just wants to go to Hive. He doesn't need the fungal right now. He knows that his opponent is sitting back, waiting for his 2-2 to kick in. He's on double factories. He's going to be able to produce a lot of tanks, but he'll have to probably do the best micro of his life. I mean, if he wants to actually achieve anything.
Like we talked about it, these drops have not been able to do anything. Snute's map vision is too good. His anti-air capabilities with all of these queens, it's too good. So uThermal is going to hit that max out that I was talking about earlier very soon, and that's going to be as the Ultralisk Cavern is on the way or just finishing. And that's basically your time to go as Terran. That's when you go full throttle, and you just got to hit the pedal to the metal and kill the Zerg before they get out Ultras, because that's going to make most of your Marines and Marauders ineffective, especially on creep.
Don't you think he has to go like a little bit like Bomber on this one? Like not even scanning for creep. I think you have to go all in, like just go as fast as you can, drop your tanks, and maybe try to get a fight because he knows
the more time,
he's running against the clock.
Yeah, the more time that Snute gets to situate himself against this, the better. He's already maxed out. He's just building up money for a remax counterattack. If uThermal loses this whole army, I don't think he can rebuild it to save himself unless he were to somehow kill every single unit Snute has. Then with 2,500 minerals in the bank, like he could remax on roaches instantly for a counterplay. One drop is going to go to the top left side, so he's trying to force this engagement into the pre-siege tanks, which is extremely important that he doesn't have to constantly move these tanks. Good fungal in the Medivac, though. He's going to hit it with the corrosive vial, cleaning it up.
Actually, that's almost a perfect fight for uThermal. All those tanks, they're not getting hit. And actually, Snute is getting destroyed right there. You can see the remax, 43 roaches, but he just destroyed the entire army. What a great fight by uThermal.
That was exactly what uThermal needed. He was able to take the fight without having to move his tanks around all that much. And you talked about it earlier, the double factory play gave him so much firepower that Snute, he just tried to engage his army with Roach, Ravager, and Fester, and this army can actually deal with that. He's going to come in one more time. He's sieged up by that 4th base position. The Roach and Ravagers are going to come in. He's going to use the Medivac to try to pull some of these back, but even with this many Roaches taking it out, he's got a reasonable amount of supply back home, more tanks, more Marauders on the way, and because Snute went for this engagement and tried to rebuild his army afterwards, he never actually started anything like a Greater Spire or an Ultralisk Cavern. He doesn't have any follow-up tech. All he can make are Roaches, Ravagers, and Infestors, and as you pointed out earlier, there's no Pathogen Glands. These Infestors do not come out with fungals.
It's interesting. It's really interesting to me that this game is not over right now. Like, it felt like it would go to Ultralisk once again with a uThermal that wouldn't be, you know, fit to fight those Ultralisk. But in this case, as you mentioned, those 46 roaches, those panic roaches, to be honest, because he got so shreked on that last fight, he had to build them, and he couldn't go for the late game units on this one. He's gonna go for a little bit of harassment with some roaches with the burrow, but I don't think it's gonna deal that much damage. And right now with the 3-3 coming up,
he is distracting him though. Like the army's kind of running back in towards the natural, and this planetary fortress is a little bit exposed. If you can just get a few moments time to rain some vials on the workers that are trying to repair it, he might be able to get, you know, a snipe on the 4th. I think could reset things for Snute since he doesn't have the GG tech on the way. But it's still a very dicey spot for him because roaches, they just get worse and worse as the game goes on.
Okay, he needs to take care of those roaches as soon as possible because he's losing SCVs in the main. But now, right now, a drop actually found his way to that 3rd base, maybe getting the hatch. No way. There's actually too many transfuses on those queens. But right now, the multitask from uThermal is actually really, really top notch. Is really getting work done with it, and I'm really impressed by what uThermal is doing right now.
I mean, the game has been forced into such a scrappy situation that the time to stabilize and make different choices and reset yourself isn't there. Snute had that hive. He has done nothing with it. We don't have 3-3. We don't have anything like Adrenal Glands. I mean, he's not playing with Lings anyway. No Ultralisk Cavern, no Greater Spire. So no hive tech, no Vipers. He's just playing off of the same army he was using a while ago. Meanwhile, 3-3 has finished for uThermal. He's at his full upgrade capacity for his bio, and that is going to allow him to take such good fights as long as he gets a reasonable spread with his Marines, Marauders, and the tanks can all shoot. He should be good to go. He's going to approach this tower. He needs to be careful if those tanks and the Medivacs get fungled. That could lead to disaster, but he's got more than enough. We have 8 siege tanks in this army.
About to be 10 and 14 Marauders, so he's really fully equipped to fight roaches, and especially with an upgrade advantage like this. 3-3 against 2-2 for the roaches. uThermal actually in a decent spot to win this game, but he needs to avoid getting full gold. Here, all all the tanks fighting on this one, but a nice concave
great
going
focus
up.
fire on all the infestors. He's picking them off with the Marauders in the backside. The tanks are still able to fire on the Ravagers, and without a fungal growth, he can pick these tanks up and move if he tries to buy them, so he's just going to completely sweep this army one more time. uThermal takes the supply lead, clears up the creep in the center of the map, and he's in a position where once again he can push forward. I think waiting just a little bit for that next wave of bio so that he doesn't get overwhelmed by this Roach. I can't really call it a Remax anymore, but this next wave, just keep your siege tank count high, bolster your forces, secure this top left expansion, and Snute's army, I mean, I'm going to say it again, it's not getting any better than it was 5 minutes ago.
Exactly. Usually in the TVZ, the longer the game goes, the better it is for the Zerg, but in that particular case, this army is not getting any better. There's way more tanks than it used to be. 11 tanks, but nowadays 10 Marauders, 21 Marines. That's a good move though. If uThermal doesn't see it and he loses his entire tank count, it could be terrible.
The Roaches on Burrow on top of the siege tanks, causing them to shoot at themselves, and the medevacs are going to try to move this army away, but the siege tank count is still too high. Enough of the tanks survived with barely any health that the bio can chase on the rest of this army, and I think that uThermal might be able to put himself up 2-0 here. The army is on the run, and there's only a handful of Roaches being made to reinforce this.
Oh my god, uThermal playing like a god on this one. Really, really sick micro.
And I love this. Look at this. He's like, it can't possibly be this easy, Funk. He's like, it can't possibly be this easy. He's building 3 Vikings at a time. He's like, where's the Broodlords? The Broodlords are going to show up at any moment. You know, uThermal, there's no Broodlords coming. Build more medevacs, boy. You got this.
Great game by uThermal on this one. Amazingly played. And as you said, we talked about it. Usually, Snute goes for Broodlords in the late game, but this time, he doesn't have the time to do it. He's still stuck on Roach, Ravager, Infestor.
Forget Greater Spire, Funka. There's not even a normal Spire.
Yeah. I was really worried about that when he launched the Hive. That's usually the timing that you want to start your Spire at, but he didn't do it in this game, and he's getting out multitask everywhere on the map. And look at uThermal, he's getting all the bases on the top of this map. It's amazing.
Yeah, that was the most healthy expansion that he had on the bottom left side. So that one being taken out, really a critical blow to Snute's economy. And as you said, he's just taking more bases all along the left side. I mean, there's not really that much creep spread happening anymore because every time he tries to push out of the center, he gets in and he scans as those Roaches burrow. So now he realizes, I think a couple things uThermal could do to help wrap this game up for himself. Repair those tanks. Don't get yourself a situation where one bile can kill 3 siege tanks at the same time, and just stay aware of that threat. Look, he's building a missile turret at the front. That is the play I like to see, because that's how you say, okay, I'm not going to die to this, but...
Oh, he's got the wrong position. Okay, the Roaches and burrow on this one, but the tank fire is too good from uThermal. He relocates those 2 tanks, get them alive. Nice fungals, but on Vikings that don't have any purpose in this game. The bio is going in. GG!
uThermal.
What a boss!
That was not the long game you expect when you think about a Terran playing against her. Let's just dial this back to that first push. Like, he got completely destroyed. He had Stim, Combat Shield, Medevacs, Siege Tanks, and he did absolutely nothing to Snute's third base. He got destroyed by pure, clean Zergling, and the next thing you know, he sits back, he says, okay, I've got to max out on a giant Marine tank push, and this pretty much has to win me the game, or the follow-up tech should kill me. But he made it work. He got in a great siege position, and I think the critical moment was when he had that middle spot, and he was able to bait Snute into attacking him without forcing tanks. Because I think as a Zerg player, what you're hoping is they pick up like 6 or 7 tanks, or maybe 4 or 5 to move forward. You fungal those, and then maybe only 3 of their tanks shoot you, and you kill like 6 or 7 tanks, and suddenly they can't attack you anymore. But when you have to attack move Roaches and Ravagers into like 10 tanks, that doesn't work very well.
No, that's not a good idea. And I felt like Snute was a little bit too fast on reacting on this one. Like, there was only a couple of Marines just, threatening a little bit the mineral line on the 4th base, but there wasn't any rush in taking this fight.
Because he also had that bottom left base. He could have moved. I mean, he could have moved the drones there, or at least he had some economy, and just give himself a little bit more time to consider how to take that engagement. Maybe try to throw some more Roaches around the right side to flank. Either way, great play from uThermal. We're going to go into Frozen Temple for map number 3, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but with Snute down 0-2.
Doesn't look really good for our Norwegian Zerg.
Ooh.
And you can see it in lag on the camera right there, and we can see the game because it's already started.
Some cheekiness going on here, Funka.
Cheeky. And bottom right, for Team Liquid down 0-2. He needs to wake up. Team Liquid Snute. And he needs to wake up fast, guys.
His first Overlord that moved across map did not see this man's SCVs going to bring the cheese. He's uThermal.
And isn't that the perfect series for uThermal? I mean, you start...
This is the dream. He wasn't
dream
even...
series.
He's not even supposed to be here.
Yeah.
It's just like, well, you guys like Snute a lot. You guys are saying that European Zergs are really good against Terran. Apparently not, Funka. Apparently not.
What's going on? What's going on, Nathanias? I can't believe my eyes, man. Like, first game, I kind of get it. You start the series with a bang. You start the series with a proper cheese on a proper map. Second game should have never gone this way. It was a cross position against, you know, a ZvT master of the late game, but he never reached that. And even the beginning of the game was kind of bad for you.
Yeah. I was gonna say,
didn't do anything.
Like, if you start like that, you do a 2-base push that gets absolutely shreked. You're like, you know, very few Terrans, you know, can be like, you know what? I can't do anything until I'm at 200 supply, and I just have to make sure I do that as best I can. And I didn't think he would be able to, but he actually did it. And now we have another 3 racks Reaper build. I think, you know, this is uThermal's match. He's got all the momentum right now.
It's perfect.
Snute is not expecting this. He's going to get completely blindsided. And just with the way that this pool is going to finish, he won't be able to even start the Roach Warren until it's almost too late. Speed should never finish in this game.
And this time he's not even seeing the bunker early enough. And that Reaper is already on the drone line. He's not going to even save the first one, so he's income. As you can see on the top right, he's getting lower and lower.
Wow.
He's going to try to get a spine, but will Snute get eliminated 3-0 by a last-minute replacement?
I'm starting to think that might be the case. There's 2 Reapers here in this base. The SCVs coming out with their boxing gloves to tank for these Reapers. And that Spine Crawler, buildings don't have their armor while they're building, so he doesn't have that 2 armor the Spines normally have. The Reapers are able to knock it down, and a 1 Queen is going to pop, but he's going to have 5 Reapers there to deal with it in the next couple of seconds here. This Queen dancing in the mineral line, but it's not going to be enough.
Fireworks in the drone line right there. 3 Reapers that can 2-shot Zerglings. That Queen is already in the orange light. Those Zerglings on the top, they get eliminated instantly. Those 2 SCVs, yes, they died.
The Queen dies.
But there are 4 Reapers, 5 Reapers
They
now.
can tuck themselves in the mineral line here as well to play with the positioning. The grenades are hitting the drones. He's knocking this force back. I don't want to call it an army. It's just a bunch of drones, Funka.
Yeah, they're not meant to fight, man. They don't have any weapons. They don't have anything to deal with those Reapers. And once again, the micro from the Dutch player.
So
He didn't lose
sick.
anything. He did lose only 2 SCVs since the start of this game. 3 drones, 18 Zerglings, 2 Queens. The speed finishes, but those Zerglings, they can't even reach it.
And uThermal takes the series 3-0. The man who's number 18 in WCS points takes out the man that's number 3. Absolutely brilliant gameplay out of the Dutchies.
The 3-0 sweep. I would have never bet this. Never, ever. It was so good from uThermal, and the setup with the cheese in the first game, getting into Snute's hand, you mentioned it. That was the perfect way of starting this series and even winning that macro game.
Yeah.
That second macro game, to me, I wanted to say this game is over. This double drop didn't do anything. He lost a medivacs, he lost 2 tanks. What is he gonna do? And yet he wins.
I really feel like that, you know, you only have so many options in a scenario like that, but it was really sick the way that uThermal was able to pull everything together and get himself into a position to bring that second game back and then close it out with such a sweep with that cheese completely unscouted in game 3.
Yeah, I don't want to be too critical of Snute, but on the third game, I really feel you need to scout. You need to drone scout this, right?
You're playing against
Frozen
uThermal.
Temple. You lost the first game. You know uThermal is going to do it every time.
Yeah.
I'm a little sad for Snute because, yeah, it feels like it's the only map you want to, you know, just take a drone and just check it out, man.
A great series for the Dutch StarCraft fans and Terran fans around the world. We're going to hear from uThermal after a short break. We'll be right back. You're watching the Intel Extreme Masters Shanghai.
Hi, my name is Lycan. Joining me on the couch is Valdez, and along with us is our first winner of the day. This is uThermal. That was a pretty exciting series. I mean, you just 3-0'd one of the top-ranked, I believe, number 3 in the WCS standings. You know, tell us, first of all, how you feel about that. I mean, if you win this tournament, you still got a long way to go to get to qualify, but are you confident that over the rest of the year you'll make it to BlizzCon?
Well, BlizzCon is not really one of my goals anymore because, like WCS, the main events give so many points, and I missed the first season, so my WCS point ranking is really bad. I believe I'm like 17 or something. So I'm more just trying to do well in tournaments, you know, get some high placings. It's just, yeah, pretty much.
All right. Well, let's talk about game 1. You took a really, really aggressive stance, but you did really well. But I was kind of all in, so I want to know what made you think that's the best way to start off the series against one of the top-ranked players?
Well, actually, it was just I studied the maps. Like, I had a list of maps with me, and I studied all his openings and stuff, and his overlord pathing. And honestly, because lately I've been slumping a bit, so I wanted to go for a preparation match rather than a skill match. So I just tried to win in the build orders. And I saw in his replay that he, or VOD, that he sent the overlord in the normal proxy location, like down the side. So I figured I could proxy it there without him knowing it. I do believe he scouted it or something, I'm not sure, because his reaction was pretty fast. But yeah, that was the idea.
Was there ever a point you thought, maybe I'm not going to make it?
You mean in game 1?
Yeah.
I don't know, not really, because he, like, his response was good, but like, he kept trading with my Reapers, he kept like moving into grenades and stuff. So yeah, I don't know, he didn't handle it too well, I think. His micro was a bit off, I don't know.
So in the next round, we're going to have a Laser versus Puck, 2 of your potential opponents in the next round. Who do you want to play? Who would you what do you think would be a more fun series? Who do you think would be an easier player to play against? What are you thinking about that?
Well, I think Laser is a bit better, but TVP is really difficult for me right now, and TVZ is like, I'm not the best at it, but it's like fine. So I think Laser would be better for me. I think Laser's probably going to take it too. He's really good at ZvP. But yeah, for me it doesn't really matter. I don't really care who my opponent is too much. But yeah, I think I'd prefer Laser if I would have to choose.
Okay. You didn't have a lot of prep time. You were a last minute join to the tournament. So you did say that you prepped a little bit for Snute. Have you done any prep for the next guys you might face?
No, actually I have a tournament after this as well. And I only prepared for like the opponents I knew. So I prepared for my NSL group and Snute. And that's it basically. But my match is only tomorrow, so I'll have enough time to prep a bit for Laser as well. Though I think I can, like I was scared of to play against Snute in a skill match, which was kind of wrong because game 2 was kind of a skill match in the end, but I think Laser should be a bit easier for me in normal games than Snute. So.
One last thing I want to ask you about, as a Terran, game 2, we saw Snute use a pretty queen-heavy style in the early game, and the range definitely comes into play with, you know, being able to use that many queens until the mid-late game composition that he was going for. How do you feel playing against that?
Well, the thing is, it's become so predictable that, like, it used to be hard, but like now, as you see, I just made 2 factory tanks, and normally if they go Ultras or Brute Lords, you just die, but he only makes Queens and Ravagers, so I mean, as you saw, I didn't even play that good that game, but my army was just better, so yeah.
All right, well, we really appreciate that. Wish you the best of luck in the rest of the tournament, and we're going to send it back to the analysis desk where Kalaris is waiting. Kalaris?
He gets it.
All right, thank you very much, guys. As obviously, there, uThermal moving on 3-0, making that pretty clean cut, gotta say. But guys, the big point about this is quite the upset. Rank 3 in Snute, off rank 4 in Snute, losing out to uThermal here, who comes in as a replacement. That's huge.
Absolutely. I mean, what a performance by uThermal, though. Obviously, it's a lot of Reaper. Some people will look at it like, you know, it's just Reaper cheese. But he also won cross-map on Frost. Yeah. And then, of course, you can make the argument for, well, Snute wasn't his regular Snute, or he could have done things differently. Doesn't matter. If you win cross-map against Snute as a Terran, you deserve it, man, because that's not easy. I'm very, very impressed. And, you know, the last big StarCraft tournament we had here in Shanghai just a couple months ago was won by Harstem. Now we've got another Dutch player, 3-0ing. I think the Dutchies are going for back-to-back victories. This is our city now.
Wow.
I mean, It could happen. Maybe wishful thinking on Kevin's side. I'm not sure. We'll see. But of course, going into even game 2 there, Pig, I was seeing how Snute was playing. I'm like, well, since that Queen buff, it sure helps his style a whole lot.
Yeah.
But in the end, as Roddy mentions, uThermal put up a fantastic fight to then win that one out.
Yeah, I mean, everything was going Snute's way, right? It was like, I actually said backstage, I was like, I think Snute's got this. I think uThermal's dead this game. It's cross-map Frost, nightmare situation for Terran. You've lost your first double tank push, Medivacs, Marines. And then he's like, well, actually, I'm just going to go with this confident 2-2 push, have an insane siege tank count. And Snute just wasn't teching up that fast towards Ultralisks. He was really relying on that mid-tier army. And everything uThermal did in his build was tailored to counter that.
Yep.
Great tank positioning, great spread on his bio, didn't hit any big corrosive bile or fungal combos. He just didn't give Snute the opportunity to use that composition the way he wanted to.
To me, it's kind of crazy that Snute, at times, he struggles a little bit versus Terran, whereas Nurture wins every single time. Back in Valencia, Snute lost 0-3 against Marine Lord in the semifinals, and then Nurture 4-0'd Marine Lord in the grand final. So it's like, what's the difference there? But it seems like Snute is using a lot more queens, so it made me very curious. And I spoke a little bit with Nurture. I was asking, why don't you make that many queens? He told me, well, they're very good early game to defend, but then as the game progresses, when you're facing upgraded units, tanks, big attacks, they are much weaker. And we saw that happen, that big fight towards the middle of the map on Frost. There was just so much army for uThermal. Those queens were useless. Nurture was telling me they're just taking, useless supply, not doing anything. So Snute might have to make some adjustments. I know that if I was Zerg, I'd just be trying to textbook copy Nurture every single game because that guy is crazy against Terran.
He's a king, an absolute king. We can take a look at some of the highlights from that game and that series as a whole. So, Pig, I know you're really excited to show us a Zerg getting demolished.
Yeah, I mean, this is my favorite part of StarCraft. Reapers is the most dynamic and skillful way to win a game. It's just building a lot of Reapers.
It was really good control though in game. Game 1, this was pretty awesome.
It was actually really well played.
Yeah, this was sick because there's one moment where Snute was up 12 workers, had way more army supply.
I think
he was starting to get very worried.
He got a bit too greedy there, I think.
Yeah.
Like he thought uThermal probably had a natural down. uThermal had no command center or anything. And then he started out the next game in a really good form. Here, look at this, snipe down the Medivacs, the tanks go down. Like, this is such a great trade for Zerg right now.
Yeah, but then that was the fight where the queens, they become a lot more useless, transfuses, not that impactful, there weren't really that many. That was before Infestors really became that much stronger as well, with more fungals and all that. There was so many roaches in production as well. I think his macro slipped a little bit. That was like 49 roaches in production here.
I think he was actually almost maxed out, but yeah, it was just a great composition from uThermal. And the positioning on the barracks in this final game, so close to the natural. And a little bit of miss micro from Snute early on, let a few drones go down. And here, look at this perfect use of this ledge, pulling back all the Reapers on red life. Just fantastic control from uThermal.
Wow.
So
Those two SCVs won the game.
How much do you think of this result? Like, is basically Snute maybe not being on his A game, perhaps? Or
I think Snute's struggling in the matchup in general. He's been saying since the Queen buff, it doesn't make any sense, but I'm playing worse, or I'm not winning as much. He doesn't necessarily, like, I've talked to him, and he hasn't said he's pinpointed a specific thing he's doing worse, but his results are just getting worse. I think it's the Terran players adapting to his style.
But at the same time, uThermal right now is on a 9-0 streak in competitive TVZ. That means something, guys. I mean, Minato, he's a very good player, but if you don't follow the scene as well, you might be like, well, who cares? 3-0 Nemchar. Okay, Nemchar is good. If you 3-0 Snute as well, then obviously you know what you're doing in this match.
You're right, it means something. It means that the Muslim needs to watch his replays because he keeps on whining about Zerg, and apparently these guys figured it out.
The Muslim still playing good? He's still playing? Is that a thing?
No, he's actually pretty good right now. No jokes about Ben. Ben is high up. He's like top 5 Grandmaster, okay?
I saw him in Valencia. I'm just
we love you, Ben.
Of course. The Muslim, a cool guy. All right, so we can check in with the bracket and see exactly what has gone down thus far, not only from yesterday, but also today for our first series, as we did have a conclusion there with uThermal bringing the upset against Snute, a player who does always so well in China to Snute. Just last time in Shenzhen, beating all those Korean Pro Tosses and making it all the way now out in the round of 16. Next up will be a Laser versus Puck. Not Violet versus Haas, as we previously mentioned. Just kind of wanting to correct that and make sure everyone knows what is going on out there in TV world. But for now, I believe that what we're going to do is go to a short break. And when we are back, we're going to have that PVZ coming up for you from the Intel Extreme Masters Shanghai.